in here?
Yeah. So as soon as we get somebody in here, I'll come in as well.
Oh, you're gonna leave me hanging by myself on your channel?
No, I just want to make sure that we're live. Send me link. What's up, guys? When you come in, leave a thumbs up. Let me know you're watching. I'm gonna be live with Susan Bassi. All right, we got a thumbs up. That means we are here. We are in. What's up, Raider Tommy? What's up, Jenny? All right, guys. I'm here with the great Susan Bassi.
Greatly cold.
Yeah, it's cold in here.
Really cold.
I'm leaving my jacket on because I'm freaking freezing.
I should have mine.
Go ahead, put it on. It's freaking cold in here. All right. Make sure I'm in good position.
Do we have a delay on it?
Just a little delay, yeah. Let me see. All right.
Can you see the comment? Oh, yeah, you can see the
Yeah, you
comment.
can see the comments. Send them, man. What's up, Westside Accountability? All right, guys. So we had an amazing day. We did some audits. What's up, CTI? Good to see you guys. Real quick shout outs. Johnny Bravo, Remy, Tracy, Rolando, Chuck Nut, Eggsy, Trek Jedi. What's up? Hello, SJVT. You rock. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Jethro Miller. What's up, guys? Sean Little, Christopher Perez, Westside Accountability Angel. Good to see you. Right here, press. All right, guys. Garden State Accountability. What's up? What's up? So we just did some recording today, Susan Bassi and I was totally blown away at one particular audit that we did. You guys already know that she does the private judging stuff, and something that I haven't learned as much as I would like to. But I was just, she did all the talking there, and I was just sitting there in complete awe. And everything that the attorney, and I can't wait to upload this, by the way, okay? Everything that the attorney was trying to throw her way, she had a rebuttal for every rebuttal that he had. She knew what she was talking about. And like I said, I was totally blown away. What I'm learning from Susan Bassi, I think hopefully I can implement that in my future work as well. And I think that if this community, the auditing community, will start implementing that into their work as well, it might change the game as far as like family law and other stuff, because they don't just focus on family law. They do other stuff as well, right?
Who?
The private judges.
That's for the private judge businesses do arbitration and mediation and private judging. And arbitration can be your employment contracts, your Netflix contract, your Apple phone contract, anything that you sign a term user agreement for probably has an arbitration clause. And so that's all the whole business moving out of the courts into privately operating arbitration, mediation, or private judging.
Right. And I'm not going to lie, like the attorney, or I guess he's a private judge now, what he was talking about, he seemed like the work that he's doing is meaningful, there for a reason, if that makes any sense.
And it is.
Right.
It is. If an attorney can get you to settle up and he was talking about the courts being clogged, which
Right.
we talked about earlier today. And if an attorney can come in and take the job over of a judge and get you done and get you settled up and get you out of court in a month, because you're paying him to do that, you're paying to bypass the system. Not everybody can afford to do that, and not everybody knows that's an option. A private judge doesn't need to be an attorney, but good private judges, if they've disclosed their conflicts, if they are really there to get you out and not to make money off you for a long period of time. What we're investigating are the cases that go on 5-10 years. They have horrible outcomes that look incredibly biased, and that's just more attorneys making money. So private judging can be good, and you don't need to be an attorney to be a private judge. You can be a firefighter, you could be a teacher. If you can get people to agree on something and get them out of court and get a settlement that legally holds up, then you've done your job as a private judge. So they can do things that are good. It's the lack of disclosure, public access, and some of these cases going on forever. That's
Do both parties have to agree?
yes, to do a private judge, not for minors counsel.
Oh,
That's the attorney that you get appointed for your children. But to get a private judge in a divorce or a custody case, they'll call it a parenting coordinator, a temporary. You heard us talking about
right.
temporary judges. They're temporarily privately compensated judges is what a private judge is.
Wow. Totally blown away. I walked out of there and I was just like, damn, Susan, that was boss level shit. I can't wait for you guys to see it. I also did an interview with her earlier, and I can't wait for you guys to see that as well. If you guys are not subscribed to Susan Bassi, make sure you guys do that. I'm learning a lot from this, and it's really nice, to learn more about, the work that we can do. And, attorneys, obviously, here's the thing that I've known and I've been seeing patterns of when it comes to family law. The fact that whenever there's an attorney involved, they love to extend it 3 months out, 6 months out, 9 months out. And it's never ending because within the next 3, 6, 9 months, you're going to have more stuff happening, more bullshit, more fighting with the ex, the spouse. And there's always something new. And so judges like to continue to prolong this as well. And I think that it almost becomes a never ending thing. And the attorneys get paid in thousands upon thousands of dollars that could have actually gone to the children. And this is just something that I'm seeing in the family law, in divorce cases as well. They don't seem to want to hurry up and end this. There should be some kind of thing, right? Like in the Sixth Amendment, you have the right to a speedy trial. But when it comes to family law, you don't. There's.
Well, there's actually a little secret about that. It's called the death rule, and it's a 5-year rule to civil cases, which applies to family court too. And if you file a lawsuit against somebody, you have to get it to trial within 5 years, because at 5 years you're kicked out of court. It's called the death rule. So you lose if you don't get to trial. And that means getting all your discovery done and everything else. In family court, they have the same rule, but if you agree at any time to use a mediator or a private judge, it stops the clock and it never starts again. So part of the incentive for the attorneys cranking these things out for years and years is to get you to go to a mediation, and then no one's watching the clock. Courts, this is clogging our courts. So it's a taxpayer issue too. And the other issue is all these increase of domestic violence allegations is usually a litigation tactic. And if you get people divorced and get them on their way, if their relationship isn't good, then that's good for the public. If you don't, and you leave them in that constant state of fighting with attorneys there, then eventually that could be your neighbors. That could be your coworkers. And they're in this battle that literally can seep out of their relationship and affect all of you. If you have a teacher for your children, they could be going through this. And a lot of people lose their jobs because of all the court dates and the hearings and the discovery. And it really just is very, everything is being litigated. They can litigate anything. The date you're separated, it's not the date you file in court. They can litigate discovery. Are you entitled to financial information to determine your community property? And if you don't have a lawyer, trying to litigate that yourself is just mind-bending. And if you're trying to hold down a job and you're a nurse or you're a teacher or you're a firefighter, or even if you're a cop, that puts emotional pressure and financial pressure on you that the courts are contributing to by delaying these cases. And so private judging can be good if people understand what rights they're going to give up and they get it done. And if the attorneys that put them into private judging limit the scope of what an attorney can do, how much they'll be paid, and how long they can stay in the case, then it's great. But nobody ever puts those limitations on it. And so it's just all these attorneys making all this money, and it does affect taxpayers, and it affects us in a way too, because it is clogging the courts. So nobody's getting anything done. It is making incentive to privatize the courts, which is never good when we privatize our legal system. And it affects the emotional and financial families that are involved, their extended families who are having to lend money, having to get involved in custody disputes. And it doesn't take two people fighting. It only takes one and an attorney, and they can make it go on for a very long time.
One of the things that Susan and I have been talking about is like in the future trying to come up with some kind of thing where folks can go through maybe like a business that we create or something, and where we try to help the people not have to go through the court system, where we can help mediate for them and stuff like that. And I think that is, first of all, let me just say this. I don't agree with the government being involved in us getting married, us getting divorced, but I can see like how folks want like, oh, well, I need my spousal, my, what do they call that? Where you get money, spousal support? Alimony, spousal support. People want that kind of stuff. So I can see why a lot of folks would think that it takes the government to make these decisions. But at the end of the day, sometimes lawyers make more money than what the person would actually get. So
even in child support, I see that a lot. People willing to pay attorneys more money to avoid paying child support and fighting over that. And sometimes there is a unrealistic, if you're dealing with somebody who has mental health problems or is abusive, there's an unrealistic expectation of what somebody can pay when the money is just not there. You may need to go to court, but the amount of money it's going to cost you in court is far greater than what it would cost to just settle your disputes and go on your way.
Right. And I've seen judges prolong, these cases, divorce, child support, stuff like that. And it's a little frustrating, when you have to deal with it on a personal level or your family members are dealing with it. It's extremely frustrating. But how do you deal with somebody, the other side, the other spouse who is non-compliant or doesn't want to, work with you on stuff like that? And it's just, where do you go from there? And I think Susan is definitely onto something, and I think it would work.
We're never going to change bad people doing bad things and getting into the court system. But what we could change is judges accommodating it and not cutting it off. And the problem that we have too is that we see too often judges just aren't following the law. The laws are all there to make this easy, to level the legal playing field, to assure that both parties have attorneys, to assure that this goes quickly, to assure that we divide community property and, but it is this fighting over, I need more custodial time to kind of jab it to my ex. The judges, instead of reeling that in, they really use the courts punitively, and we see people that are being sanctioned. I had one woman one time, never married and just in a custody case, and she was being threatened with $600,000 in sanctions because she tried to get one of the appointed experts removed. I mean, think about that, $600,000 in sanctions. I've written about Kathy Fike got sanctioned $1 million for divorcing her attorney. She was pro per. So she had to pay $1 million for his attorney, and they never awarded her fees. So it was her, and he had 2 attorneys. So that's 3 attorneys against a self-represented litigant, and they just kept sanctioning her. And she eventually lost custody of her kid. She was criminally prosecuted because when you don't have a lawyer for the shield and the other party does, you can get sanctioned $1 million. So we haven't sanctioned Russia $1 million, but we're sanctioning people going through divorce cases. And I don't think people understand that. And later they'll come to me and say, I got sanctioned 40,000. And my first thought of that is, okay, well, 40,000 is better than some of the numbers that I've heard. But I don't think people understand, once you go to court, you give consent for the government to make decisions and to make orders over your personal, your financial, your emotional, and your children. And that is a problem in itself. And we have to stop people thinking that they're going to win in court, because they're not going to win. And these judges seem to be being more complicit, more incompetent, and the attorneys are making more money. And it really shouldn't be. Nobody should be in court where they don't have an attorney and their spouse does. And then you hear cases, well, someone's really, really bad and really abusive. And so maybe the victim in that case, and I do want to preface that could be man or woman, may need an attorney. But at some point, we have to decide where we're crossing these lines. So we did a little bit of family court things today, but we did some other public records things too.
She came down to Bakersfield. She did some records requests for, something that I think that might help me out in my my lawsuit as well. She just, it was a great collaboration today, I think.
We went to
overdue.
we went to the district attorney's office, and there was a little snarky lady working behind the counter in the district attorney's office of Kern County, who didn't want to give us her name, didn't want to take our records request, refused to take my records request. The lady that takes records requests was out, so I'm not sure where that was in the law, but she was just a really nasty person at the front desk of the district attorney's office. And that is an indication of a culture in that office. We also went to the county council, where I have had very bad experiences in Sonoma, where the county council attorney arrested Mark the process server, and they're having a big lawsuit right now. But this county council, the lady had decorated, she was having a raffle for a food bank in the area. David bought me 5 tickets, but he's going to have to collect it. And they decorated it. She was kind. She was pleasant to us. And how hard is that? And she redirected us where we needed to go to get our records because she didn't know where to get them. We got redirected to the Office of Administration. Suzanne in the office was great. She took our records request, probably created some more public records when she was doing it. But that's how easy it should be. If you are walking in, don't cuss, don't rant, don't be rude. Let them reflect the culture back and stay laser focused on the records that you want to get. And I was very clear what I'm asking for. I'm asking this of lots of different counties. And one of the records requests that we made today are for all claims made against Kern County. And claims are what you have to file before you file a federal lawsuit. So we see on our channels a lot of people saying, oh, just sue, just sue. And I've gotten records from Santa Clara and realize that, A, very few people sue because they don't have a lawyer, and going to federal court without father in exile, and I will fight about this forever, but I just don't see people winning in court without a lawyer. And the amount of life energy that going to court without a lawyer sucks out of you is draining, and very few people can do it. It's costly, it's time consuming, and it consumes your life. And you have to consider, you have to know all the federal procedures so you don't get thrown out, so that you respond in time. Then you have to think about depositions and discovery, and you have to comply with discovery too, which could be really burdensome without an attorney. And then you have to think forward to getting to a jury. And if you did make it to a jury, you stand a very high chance of losing if you're representing yourself. And we usually don't see pro pers make it to a jury. The judges will not let you make it to a jury. So I think people get misguided about these lawsuits and how much money you can make from them, and that lawyers are going to be lined up to take these cases. And that's not the case. So we did ask for those records today in Kern County. I want to know how many people have sued cops, CPS workers, any county worker, could be the dog catcher. And so they have to fill out claims before they sue. And those are the records that we requested today.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that. And I got to say that really quick, I want to give a shout out to the Pop Brothers at Law, who are actually taking my lawsuit. And I thought I was going to have to do this pro se. And it's just, I was extremely frustrated about it. I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, what steps to take. And it's just, I'm not there yet. I do believe that we live in the age of information. Hopefully in the near future, we will start learning how to do all of these things along the way, because lawyers are people too. But as a community, even myself, I'm not ready yet to do these things by myself. I probably would have had to. I probably would have failed. That's okay. But it's just, it is frustrating. I can see the frustration within myself, and these days I'm living life, stress free. At least I'm trying to, and it's just when it comes to this case, I'm really not stressed out about it, win or lose. I'm not really stressing it, but I could see the amount of stress that a lot of people go through when dealing with this type of stuff, lawsuits and criminal cases and stuff like that.
And even a divorce. I mean,
right.
This sucks lives out of people because you're spending all your waking moments, you're either at work or you're doing basic household things, and every other moment of your time is spent filling out discovery, answering pleadings, preparing for a court date, taking time off work to do that. And if it was only 6 months or a year, it would be okay. But just what we see the court system in this day and age doing to people, and the criminal courts are the same. For my little great photograph case and the misdemeanor that I got prosecuted for, it was 6 years and over 70 hearings for a misdemeanor. That screams somebody has a motive besides public safety. And that was a political case because the DA didn't like my reporting on him and my giving my opinions about how he was treating victims in the court system. And so I think that anybody who says, for those of you who say just sue when you see a cop behave badly or violate your rights, the reality is the most expensive things you can ever say in your life are, I do, and I want my rights.
No shit.
And so you need to remember that, and that the courts are not always a solution. In fact, they're the last solution, and you need to realize the risk for it.
Yeah, I think we still have a long way to go for us to start doing this pro se. I mean, I know we have ChatGPT, and ChatGPT Law is coming out as well. Hopefully we can hone in on that type of stuff. We got Reluctant Prophet in here as well. What's up, Reluctant Prophet? Good to see you, my brother. I know Reluctant Prophet was doing some stuff pro se as well. A lot of folks are trying. They're trying their hand at this. And
let's talk about one thing everybody can do pro per, and that's public records lawsuits. And what we're trying to do, and what we did today, is I'm trying to ask for records verbally. And the very first thing I get anytime I try that is go to our website. We don't do that. You write it down. I always say, cops broke my hand. I can't write. And because they did break my right hand. And I will always help anybody by posting my records request. Anybody that asks me, I will send you the records requests that I make. I just ask that you not post my phone number and my email address if you're posting it. But you can copy my records request, because in California, we write down all the laws and all the reasons they're going to object and all the reasons they're going to come up with not giving you the records. And if you back it up in writing, and we can even have somebody type up their records request and go in and say, I'm here to make a records request. Here it is. Please read it back to me so we can make sure. Then you have video of it, but you've written it down. And if you do that records request right, and they don't give you the records, and we talked a lot about body cams, that's a little bit of a different area. But if the records are required to be produced and you've done your request right and they don't do it, the remedy is to sue. And if you sue pro per, you get your records if you win. If you sue with an attorney, the attorney gets paid. So if First Amendment auditors and cop watchers would literally make very careful records requests, and that means not going in to get everyone all angry over you're recording them or nervous, because, David saw how I do that today. I am a 61-year-old white woman, and when I walk in with my camera, it's not quite the same. I don't hold it out the way, on a gimbal. I know you guys give me a lot of grief for that, but there's a reason for why I record the way I do. I don't want to be inflammatory in somebody's face. And I tell them I always record my records request because I like to hear how I requested. And then when I get it in writing, to make sure that I communicated it right. But if we get people very carefully making these records requests, I believe attorneys will take these lawsuits and file for these requests. And that includes your body cam footage, that includes drone footage, that includes the flock camera footage. And those are things that, you know, you may be able to use on your channels. In California, I have been getting a lot of body cam footage. I noticed that it's not going very well on YouTube, and I think there might be something that they don't like about using those cameras. I've been disturbed by some of the body cam footage that I've gotten in some DV cases. And I've been disturbed not by how the police officers responded, but by how badly it can look behind the secrecy of somebody's home. And arresting a person and putting them in jail so that they're going to lose their income and then not be able to support that home. These are tough issues, and I think they're public issues. And it's been helpful for me to see the body cam footage. I don't know about posting it, but all of these are records that we all have a right to see. And I think that if we're all pressing on these records and getting attorneys involved when we don't get the records, attorneys that can make money on getting public records would probably love to do that. It's not a lot of litigating. It's here was the request, here's the law, and you might go to court once or twice and then get your attorney's fees. And so that's easy money. And another really good group are these new lawyers that just passed the bar that are anxious and still believing that the law works in the way that they went to law school. Those are really good people that you can find them at clinics, you can find them at universities, and they're anxious for cases. And a public records case is not inflammatory. It's not going to ruin their career. And you might be able to find lawyers through the local law schools, especially public law schools.
Yeah, I might have to get one because I requested body cam footage that involves me and another cop that were speaking at a concert. And it's been 2 years and I still haven't gotten my record. So maybe I might do that as well. And I just, you know, it's like today, for instance, we were at the district attorney's office and I didn't record inside there. She did. So you guys are going to have to go watch that on her channel. But yeah, she has the video. She will be uploading that soon. And the woman was rude. She didn't want to take the records request. She didn't want to give her name or not even the roster. And she was just rude. And like I said, you guys will see it on her channel. And then we did some records requests other places and they were quite professional. So it's just, you know, I think we'll all get better at it. There's a couple channels out there. There's I Am Free Inland Auditing. He's great at records requests. Audit Them is really good at records requests. And, you know, I think we're just going to continue to get better at this. And I think the more...
And we make them better. We make the government better because when they know they're going to be on our YouTube channel, they're going to get a little razzed at work. They're going to get some ribbing and they might even get some discipline, but we're teaching people how to behave on camera. And part of that is we have to know how to behave on camera. He gets a lot of grief. I count his F-bombs in his videos.
So I'm all showing her a video on the way home. We had lunch. Well, I guess it's considered dinner. We kind of sat there at the restaurant for like a little over 2 hours just talking. Great conversation, by the way. You know, we talked a lot, and then on the way home, I was trying to brag about a video that I did, and I do think it was a good video, but I did drop a lot of swear words on there, and I was just like,
I counted them.
Yeah, it was a whole bunch.
It was over 15.
I don't even remember swearing that much.
He's like, I don't know why this video didn't go wild. Maybe because there were 13 F-bombs in about 3 minutes. That might have had something to do with it.
What's up, the pen and the sword? What's up, brother? Writes Crispy. What's up, guys?
Hi, Writes Crispy.
Man, we got a call. Thank you guys all for being here. I had an amazing day with Miss Susan Bassi, and I'm glad.
And we
glad she came
learned,
down.
okay, I had one purpose for coming here to have you help me with, and you didn't help me. So my vertical live streams will still be vertical because he couldn't figure it
So
out.
check this out. On my live stream, you have to press the vertical or the horizontal. You got to switch it, right? It worked on mine. Like I did a live stream earlier, unlisted, just to show her that how I do it. And then she tried to do it on hers, and it wasn't working. And then so I was like, give me your phone. Let me try it. And I was trying to do it, and it wasn't working on her phone. So I don't know why that is. We got to try to figure it out. Why? I don't know if it's just the phone itself, or if it's maybe she has to delete the YouTube app and then get it again. Hopefully then it'll work. I don't know. But
None of that has worked. I may just need a new phone, and it is time for that.
yeah,
So
if you guys want to donate to Susan Bassi, she does need a new phone. I'm not making fun of her phone.
he's making fun of my phone.
I'm not making fun of her
He's
phone.
made fun of my phone.
So she needs a new phone, and she also wants to get the Meta glasses as well. And I do believe that she'll do very well.
Those were so cool. So
Yeah.
he showed me how that worked today. And I really do think that using the Meta glasses, it can only record up to 3 minutes at a time.
Right.
But it just is so non-threatening to individuals that if you can just turn it on, I don't think public employees and police officers are aware that that is recording. I don't even think they know that in Silicon Valley. And it just might give you a more realistic interaction with somebody, because it is threatening. It does feel uncomfortable, and I know we make people uncomfortable. Journalism makes people uncomfortable, and so I'm used to that, and I try to soften it. But if we can use glasses instead of a phone out in front of somebody, I think that it would help our interactions. So that is on my wish list. So I'm going to try to get that.
Yeah,
when
you guys can go help her out, man. Show her some love. She came all the way out here. I tried to fill up her gas tank. She wouldn't let me. So just
it was full.
You're amazing. You're awesome, and thank you.
We had a
for
good
coming
day,
down.
and really, David is the OG of this. He was kind and generous with his time. Wrights Crispy, Johnny Bravo, everybody in this community has really helped me, pivoting from kind of being a print writing reporter to how I do this in multimedia. And if you look at legacy media and nonprofit media, they're all trying to do versions of that. They'll write their articles and then they put themselves in a little screen and try to explain it, but they're just missing something. It doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel sincere. It feels more like they know they have to instead of they want to. And so you guys have taught me a lot, I don't know if you guys have seen my last video on minors counsel and private judging, but when that attorney pulled her phone out and started filming me in the vertical position, I actually said, you might have turned that to the horizontal position. And those are things that I have learned from everybody here. And so I really needed to just come and spend the day with David. It's been a long time since we've spent some time together. And I think it's really important. Everyone needs to have feedback from somebody. And so I appreciate coming to Bakersfield, where the OG started all of this.
I didn't start it all, but
with me you did.
Yeah, with you. And I am, what some have said, that the first wave of First Amendment auditors, I didn't expect to ever grow this much. I didn't expect for the community to grow this much from sea to shining sea. We have channels out of Australia, Canada, the UK. And it's just, it's kind of mind blowing. And I think we are improving as a community, as a people. Like I said, we started off doing cop watching, First Amendment audits, where we were just recording in the buildings, not really doing records requests. And then we've upped our game along the way. And I think we can continue to improve. And, it's just, this is a wonderful community.
And having a purpose. We aren't just going to take up air and space. When we're going to make records requests, we have a purpose. We want to know information that the government is conducting business, and we need to know that. And the other thing is, when we do our job well, cops get fired, mayors get fired. And I really think the importance of, since we have news deserts, since private equity bought up all the newspapers. By the way, there's a series on PBS called Strip for Parts, and it's about what private equity did to newsrooms. And that's what happened. The journalists just all scattered. And those were people that had the training that I have and that used to report on public corruption at a local level. And that's all gone. So now our first line of defense really is the cop watchers and the First Amendment auditors that are showing us local government and how it's conducting business and how individuals respond in the government that we're publicly paying.
Right. And one thing that we talked about today too, as well, is working in your own backyard, uncovering corruption. Like I believe that some of the work that I did in Arvin, California was probably the proudest work that I've done in this community. I worked with community members, ex-public officials, a private investigator, like everybody kind of came together. And it was just a collaborative effort. And I could not have done any of that myself. I believe that the public officials that were in office fighting with other public officials, they couldn't have done it by themselves. The community could not have done it by themselves. The private investigator couldn't have done it by himself. It was a collaborative effort of everybody kind of, sharing information and maybe not actually working together, because I didn't speak to everybody. Sometimes, things were just kind of being thrown out there, and I would just pick up information, and I was able to, share the stories of what happened, and we made a big change in Arvin, California. And we talked about how it could be dangerous to do that in your own backyard, so maybe it does take people to work alongside other folks. And really quick, let me give a shout out to Kern County Activities. I think every community needs a Kern County Activities page. What these guys are is on Instagram, and they kind of have this thing where everybody sends them everything that's happening in town. Whether it's a car accident, they'll say check on your people. So Kern County Activities, they don't go out and record. They kind of have like a news thing where everybody just sends them everything, whether it's a fight, whether it's
that used to be a local newspaper,
right.
Only it wasn't video. It would be, you would send in your birth announcements, you would
Right.
send in the death announcements, you would send in your wedding announcements, the sports page for your kids' little league, and that's what I did in my magazine, was try to report on everything that was going on, whether you wanted to go on a bicycling event ride or you wanted to go painting or read or whatever. And we forget that this community is very specific, that we're watching the government. Not everybody is interested in that. And so the more we talk about local businesses, the more we show how the communities are interconnected with all these things. That's really important. So I'd like to see that channel, because that's...
And this is how I actually got connected with the people in Arvin. We all started, everybody kind of sends their stuff there. And I believe every community needs that, because you get the news in real time. You have all the law enforcement agencies following them. You have all the news agencies in town following them. You have everybody in town following them. And you get your news like that fast. So as soon as somebody sends them a photo, and they have like multiple people working on it, so it's almost like 24 hours a day. Look, sometimes Nate would go out and he wouldn't come home, at night. First thing I would do is go to Kern County Activities. Oh, please God, make sure my son's okay. Hopefully I don't see my son on Kern County Activities in a car accident or something. People get shot in town, and they'll show some stuff on here. And it's just like, you get your news in real time almost immediately. I think that shit is important. They have a massive following already in Bakersfield, like over 200-something thousand followers in just Bakersfield alone. So what does that tell you guys? If you don't have that type of Instagram page in your area, be the one who creates it. And not only that, these guys charge like $100 just to copy and paste a business on their story. So these guys can make anywhere from $300 a day to like $1,500 a day, depending on how many stories or how many businesses reach out to them. And they get a lot of business that way. And I'm just totally mind blown at what they do. Sometimes I'll share some stuff and they'll share it on their stuff. They call me local legend whenever they shout me out, which is kind of badass. It's really cool to see. But, it's...
His head's blowing up a little bit again.
No, I mean, it's really nice to see that, come about. And I support these guys, fully with what they do. Like I said, everybody needs that type of page in your town. It might take you and 3 other people maybe work 6-hour shifts on it or something like that. Make sure everybody gets paid, hook everybody up. But it's just, it's outstanding to see, it's badass. And it's like I was talking to a police officer here in Bakersfield at the Veterans Parade. And I was wearing the Kern County Activities hat, and he was like, "Are you Kern County Activities?" I was like, "Nah, but they're friends of mine, and they always shout me out and stuff like that." And we talked about how important their page is. He even said it himself, like, "Yeah, man, whenever I'm home, I'll just jump on there, see what's going on." And it's amazing. And like I said, that's how we were able to connect. A lot of folks were able to connect in town and work and come together and collaborate. And that's why I think we were able to create some change in Arvin, California. And maybe you guys could start doing that in your neck of the woods. Maybe if you don't want to shit where you eat in your town, maybe you don't have to be the one to go out and record. Maybe you can invite people to come in and record and do stuff like that.
We've been talking about the nasty attorneys that recognize me on the street. And when you live in San Jose and Los Gatos, with the size of that area, the fact that I could be standing on a street and a nasty attorney walks into my video and says, I need her consent to record her. It was A, startling that an attorney would say that, but B, it was also startling that they would recognize me on the street filming the outside of a restaurant. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. We recognize the risks that people take when they're doing First Amendment auditing in their communities where they live. And the government is used to controlling the narrative through the media with press releases and the traditional way they did it. And they can't control people like independents like us. And that is something that is important that we do it, but we all need to be mindful that there are those that don't like to be on our YouTube channel and they might be prone to First Amendment retaliation.
Yeah, and we are seeing a bunch of channels out there that are being retaliated against. The government will use your own family members, your exes against you to press charges and stuff like that. We're seeing that now a lot more than ever. And we're seeing a lot of people get retaliated against, probation violations, all kinds of crazy stuff. And you know, one of the things that I believe protects me a lot is that I'm always on camera. I have a camera in my living room facing me. I have a camera in and out of my door. So if anybody tries to say that I'm somewhere where I'm not, good luck with that. You know, so find a way to protect yourselves, you know, and you don't always have to do that type of work in your neck of the woods. If you do, just be careful with that. You know, maybe invite some other folks from out of town to come work with you and stuff like that. I mean, it's still a collaborative effort. It's still a wonderful community. And I think that a lot of people try to discourage the idea of a community, but I think it's alive and well and it's strong.
I want to give a shout out.
Yeah, and so what's funny is she did a video of a cop, right, recently on her channel, and I'm actually going to share this video as well, but she has a friend who's an artist, and check out what the artist did of this cop right here.
This is Officer Danette. He didn't want to give me his name and badge number as he's assigned to the desk at City Hall. And so...
Put it closer.
Can you see it?
Hold on.
Is it showing?
Yeah, it's showing. Freaking hilarious. That's a really, I would make a shirt out of that.
We're thinking this artist is the artist that also paints a lot of attorneys as pigs. And one of the attorneys is the one that sought a restraining order against me and was featured regularly in the pig art. And, you know, he was just talking about how we take videos and kind of show where we are at all times. This attorney actually accused me of chopping up pigs' heads and leaving them at her office, which is such a ridiculous statement to even think that I could do that. I was even trying to imagine, how would I have done that? Do you go to a butcher? Where do you get the pig? 4-H at the fair time? I mean, where did that happen? And she actually accused me of this, and the other attorneys are now saying it like it happened. And so I looked back on my phone at the time period that they were saying that I left the pig heads at her office. And I actually happened to be in Monterey doing a scavenger hunt for some kids at the time. And so I have all my photos from that time of Monterey. I wasn't even in the area. And so taking a photo, I take my dog for a walk in the morning. I take pictures of flowers. I take pictures of all things. It helps me remember, but it also is your alibi when people make ridiculous allegations against you.
Yeah, there's a couple. One, Made in America says, "With you two, we are unstoppable." And this guy has a. As soon as you showed the art, there's a channel on here called Pigs Eat Feces, and his comment was nice. That's
I'll
freaking
post
hilarious.
that in my community post when I get home late tonight, so it'll be there
Yeah.
tomorrow. And I'll post it on my LinkedIn and everything. I think I don't want to stick my knee in Michael Donnette's neck because I don't think that we need to do that enough. The video should speak for itself. But I really did watch that police officer and imagined what his spouses, what his mother, what his children must have thought of when he was speaking to them that way. His face was it just number. And I was trying to ask about a memo that had been on the door about auditing, but I never even got to that question. And if we are police officers that do not know how to de-escalate a simple question, those are not the police officers we want responding to a domestic disturbance call that could be a serious DV call that puts you, your neighbors, and everybody at risk. And so I don't normally see police officers like Michael Donnette. I saw him in my backyard in San Jose. And again, that's the importance of what cop watchers and First Amendment auditors have done is show the culture of policing, because it just takes one police officer like that and everyone being silent around him about that behavior being okay. And that creates a culture that is a problem.
Yeah, I agree. What's up, Emergency Education Point? A lot of you guys I see in here. Really good to see you guys. Knowledge is Power LA. What's up, my brother? Sean Little, the Pen and the Sword, longtime supporter. Yeah, I mean, we can only continue to get better. I know there's a lot of people doing a lot of dumb shit, but at the same time, I think it's important to focus on the community aspect of it all and connecting with each other, working with each other, helping people up. You know what I mean? And not kicking people when they're down or not shitting on people. Just try to really uplift each other and
not pulling the ladder up when you get up.
That's true. That's something that she said today a couple times, and I was like, that's a profound thing to say. You know, a lot of people, they all of a sudden they just pull the ladder up and they're just like, forget about you. I don't want that guy. I don't want to be that person with you guys. I've never been like that with any of you guys. I talk to a lot of folks, whether you have 10 subscribers, you have no subscribers, and I talk to folks who have, you know, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I talk to people who have millions of subscribers. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of folks out there. I just met somebody the other day who's his name on Instagram. He's got 2 million followers. Godfrey the comic. Badass. You know, I seen him and I recognized him and I was talking to him. It's on my Instagram. I haven't posted it on my YouTube yet, but you know, he follows the work that we do as well. And he was just like, man, thank you for doing what you do. Not everybody knows their rights, and you're out there educating people on the amendments and stuff. And it's just, it's badass. It's amazing. And, you know, like We Got a Call, I became really good friends with him. His channel used to be Modern Retro Radio. We talk on the phone all the time. I am now a co-host of his Rumble channel. It's a small channel, growing. But, you know, I consider this guy a really good friend. My friend Wrights Crispy, I can talk to this guy for hours on end, and just a really good friend of mine. Made in America became a friend of mine as well. And it's just a wonderful community. And, you know, the other day I mentioned a comment that I wanted to get some Meta glasses, and Made in America, $200. We got a call, donated $200. I wouldn't have been able to do it with you guys.
And
so
I saw how that
you.
worked today. So it was important, you know, we all learn from that. And I think blending traditional journalism with what cop watchers were doing, if we blend it to the middle, will be really unstoppable. And really, we are the new free press.
Yeah. I mean, it is a free press, right? Like, I think one of the things that We Got a Call said to me was that it doesn't feel like I can be bought, you know, and that's true. I can't be bought, you know, when it comes to my journalism, my press, and I'm just going to put it out there, you know, and there's a lot of folks out there, because I think we were talking about Joe Rogan and how he used to question everything, right? And all of a sudden he's just like questioning nothing. You know, I was like, no, we got to change the subject. And he gained his following by questioning a lot of stuff.
Now he's pulling up the ladder.
Now he's pulling up the ladder, exactly. Just like, she said, that makes a lot of sense. It's something to really think about. So yeah, guys.
And I always want to express how grateful I am to David. When I first met him, I had 68 subscribers. He said to me, I said, I can't afford an iPad. And he said, then go home. And he was not very compassionate about that. And so I got my first iPad. And at that time, I was walking around with my iPad like this, which is good because I don't very well. And now you saw today how I do it more or less in people's faces with my phone, but I do try to record. And I am forever grateful. You guys mirror back to me when I put something out in the universe. You mirror back. Did I say it right? Did I sound right? You're critical of me. I love the constructive criticism. I deleted a comment the other day from somebody. We get a lot of cop trolls. So when I did the Danette video, there were a lot of cop trolls. And believe it or not, private judging has a foundation where they teach the government how to thwart people who are protesting or activists or journalists that are disfavorable to them. And I think the troll cops that are on our channel saying, get a job, go do some work, hey, people in this community work harder than anybody that has a 9-to-5 job. And we don't get paid even 2 cents an hour for the work that we do. And so when you guys give constructive, positive feedback, that's helpful. My feelings never get hurt on that, because when I throw something out, I want to make sure that you understood it and that you understand the importance. David was watching one of my videos the other day, and he said, is that right about those attorneys are paid for by taxpayers? And these are attorneys that are representing kids because their parents are in a divorce, not because the kids need a criminal defense or anything. Their parents are getting a divorce and taxpayers are paying for that. And it's really out of control to the point where we're paying for that, but not transcripts and not allowing courts. So I think when we start to point out these disparities and are outraged, I've delivered it correctly if you give that back. And if I don't deliver it correctly, I want to hear. I want to hear, explain right. What did I get wrong? And I have attorney sources that will say, you weren't exactly precise on this. And so I work really hard to make sure that people in the legal community, because you have to be Teflon, you have to be so right that they can't try to discredit you. And I did say something a little bit off in one of my videos recently, and the attorney kind of frowned at me. And but I appreciate that feedback. I probably won't take the video down and correct it, but I will correct it moving forward when I explain things. And so that's called explanatory journalism. And that's what David does when he's explaining things to people. And so that's what we engage in, is explanatory journalism. But it does us no good to explain it if you guys don't give us feedback. And so I really always appreciate you guys coming in for the lives, leaving the comments, sharing. And I'm almost about to hit 75,000 subscribers. And when I met David, I had 68. So that's all you guys.
68 subscribers, not 68,000.
Yeah, 68.
Don't mess with Susan Bassi. That cop, Danette, right? He was being rude to her. He was just a jerk on that video. I'll be sharing it, and I'm going to include this in when I share it as well. But she did.
But wait, I want to preface that. He wasn't being rude to me. A journalist is a member of the public, and he was positioned in City Hall public library and public City Hall lobby. He was being rude to the public. I just happened to have a camera to capture it. And you guys gave the feedback. Most of that was unedited, how he behaved by asking the name and badge number. I also did a live, which is now just for my members, of him afterwards. I probably did follow him a little bit longer when he had a little baby temper tantrum. Sometimes the mom in me comes up and I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. And Officer Danette earned that from me, because no police officer should ever behave that way when they're working in a public lobby. But when they respond to calls and no camera is pointed at them, that is the time that we should be concerned.
Don't mess with her. One of the things that she did as well was she went and did a records request and found out that he had been in 2 divorces. And she talked about that. And I was just like, what the hell? I was totally blown away. And I thought to myself, like, what if we all started doing that? What if we find rude cops and then we go and find these certain types of records? Because one of the things that some of us do, she does this very well, is go to California Transparent and find out how much money they make. I know East Los Audits does that very well. KIP LA, Knowledge is Power LA does that very well. And we put out, a lot of you channels out there use that very well. I really don't do that as much. I think I need to implement that more into my, but like I said, Bassi is a boss. Bassi is a boss. Don't mess with her. She's going to find out if you've been in divorces and shit like that, and she's going to post that shit.
The reason that's important is I interviewed a police chief one time, and he told me, I said, do you check police officers' family law files and whether or not an intimate partner or a spouse has made allegations of abuse? And they said, no, that's not a screening. Those are, even though those are public records, you typically have to go down to the court to get the records. You can look at a docket and see if there's a divorce that exists. So if you have a cop that is abusive, and this is not just cops, this is attorneys, because I will pull the divorce files for attorneys. Jessica Huey's divorce file, whoo, that was a doozy. And she's doing private judging as a parenting coordinator. And when you listen to the divorce files of what someone's spouse alleges in public court documents, that's an indication of how that person is going to behave. So whether it's a court-appointed attorney for children, a private judge, or a cop, or even the lady at the district attorney's office, we'll get her name out and find out how many divorces she's had. But it's not just a matter of somebody having a divorce. It is what the spouse is alleging. If they have a good divorce, it's over in 6 months, they agreed, they stayed out of court, that's a good sign. You know, if you found a cop that behaves well on camera, I bet you would see that kind of divorce. But I do look at divorce files because they're very revealing, and very few reporters ever look at divorce files.
Next level type stuff, right? I mean, if we really hone in on some of these things, we can really improve as a community and to hold government accountable. You know, one of the records that I found out recently was that some of the cops that are working in certain areas, especially the school district, is the fact that, you know, they were allowed to work without actually being certified. That's not good. So when we actually really hone in on the records requests, we're going to be able to find out a lot more and make more of an impact than we already have now. Luckily, the work that I did in Arvin, I was sent a lot of records to me. A lot of records that were actually being swept under the rug because that particular chief of police had went through the probationary period. He was able to resubmit his plea to a not guilty plea, and they found him not guilty after a certain amount of time. And we don't get that same type of privilege.
Jonathan Silva also got a not guilty.
Right.
We all saw the video of him.
Right. You see, and sometimes those records get deleted or thrown away. But this particular private investigator saved all of that and he sent it to me. So I kind of lucked out with that. But it's important that we demand records continue to get better at this. And I think it's...
the other records that we didn't talk about that does have to be done in writing is the post certification records. And all police officers that are licensed and certified in the state of California, and they have post for every state. So you just have to find out what your California equivalent of that is. But when you order the post records on a police officer, it gives you a lot of information. It tells you what classes they had. If I were really going to spend a lot of time on Officer Danette beyond his divorces, I would go to post. I would ask, he was on the force for 27 years. I would want to know what classes he took. I would want to see, did he take de-escalation classes? Because why did he pass that class? And when you hear a police officer in court they put on their best uniform and they come in and they say, based on my training and experience, I'm amazed how many public defenders don't know what that training is. They don't ask them, what are you taught in that training? And when you look at federal lawyers who are suing over civil rights, they get that police training. They talk about what they're trained and how they deviated from it. And so when you see an officer like Officer Danette just flipping out over, I wasn't cussing at him. I didn't raise my voice, and I went back and I listened to my own video. But the next level would be to get his post training and find out just what training he had that landed him that kind of attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we go from here is just a better tomorrow. Look, what if we did find this out about certain cops, about their post, training and stuff like that? What if they weren't certified? Then they would actually really have to fix that, before we continue to find out which cops are out there that are really not allowed to be out there, right?
Well, the best example of that is, remember the newsroom raid in Kansas?
That's right.
The police chief ended up being a very big problem. Legacy media and all of us were reporting on that. But what wasn't reported was the police chief before that had been fired because they found out he had a domestic violence restraining order issued against him in California. So a little independent reporter investigating the cop found his divorce records and his DV case in California, which he didn't disclose in Kansas, and they got him fired. And that's when the new police chief came in, and that was the one that did the newsroom raid. So having journalists that know how to get these records and know how to go back, that guy literally moved out of state and became a police chief in a town concealing his domestic violence case. And as soon as that independent reporter came up with that, he was fired because he was decertified. He was not allowed to be a police officer.
Yeah, same thing in Arvin, California. That chief of police that is no longer in his position after our reporting, he was using an entirely different name. He was fired, arrested, charged, convicted for stealing $17,000 out of Palos Verdes Estates Police Department. His last name he used to go by Alex Gazarian. All of a sudden, we find him here in Arvin, and he's going by Alex Gazalpour. I'm like, wait a minute, bro. Didn't you used to use a different name? And then he's like, well, my name's always been Alex Gazarian, a.k.a. Gazalpour. And I'm just like, that's not what you just said. So it's like they try to sweep the record under the rug, and they're using different names. I mean, yeah.
We've seen that with judges. They have their 700 form, and we've seen judges using different names on different records. So the 700 form is what you can get. I didn't really go over this today, but you can get this from any city and any county, any agency, all of the elected officials, but also top decision-making officials, the county attorneys, the district attorneys, the judges, the prosecutors, the public defenders that are high-ranking, the city manager, the mayor, the city executives, and people high up in administration. They have to file their 700 forms so that you know what they own. If they own stock in certain things, they can't take votes or do action on things where they have a financial interest. And so police chiefs, Santa Clara, the city is the only city that elects the police chief. And I'm actually on those records right now where I'm getting his 700 forms. I'm getting his political nomination forms because no other police chiefs are nominated. So we all need to learn that is what you can get on a police chief, a police captain. You can get those financial disclosures.
Right here in Bakersfield, California, they're looking for a new police chief. I know there was a recent records request,
Press release.
A press release thing came out regarding a bunch of complaints that were made here in Bakersfield. They say it's a small percentage of a certain amount of cops that keep getting complaints. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was think about this, in 1 year, 2025. No, I think it's 2024. Almost 1,000 complaints on cops. That's more than one complaint a day. That's more than 3 complaints a day, right? 900 and something complaints on just a certain amount of cops in Bakersfield. Let me ask you guys this. Why are we not getting rid of those bad cops? And I understand that you fire a cop, he can appeal. And if he loses that appeal, he can appeal again. And a lot of cops are filing lawsuits against departments. We're seeing that often. That's why a lot of cops are allowed to resign and then they go work in a different department. This is a pattern and this is a bad thing. And I think something there needs to be changed. And, we have a long road ahead of us, but I think we're beginning to improve. I think records requests are going to help us.
We asked for those records today. The number of complaints, I asked at a police department, the number of claims for lawsuits, but also a complaint log. And it was interesting because the police chief said, oh, that sounds like you're getting into private information. They'll always say, oh, that's private personnel information. And I said, give me a complaint log, redact all the names. I want to see how many complaints. If you get a record that is 90% redacted, but shows you there were 1,000 complaints against police officers, that's a record that is worth having, even if it's mostly redacted. I may not know the names of the police officers, but I will know how many complaints were made against police officers. And this is a police department that works with schools. And so I want to know, are parents, our students, our teachers, our faculty complaining about these police officers? And if they're not, why are we not celebrating this department that has 0 complaints against them? So asking for complaint logs in your records, you will get lots of resistance, but demand to get the record itself, even if it's redacted, to show the number of complaints.
Right. Well, I mean, is there anything else you want to add?
I'm going home to get Peppy now.
She has a long drive ahead.
And Peppy didn't come today.
Thank you, Susan.
I made an exception.
Thank you for today.
Thank you, David.
I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And thanks for letting me crash your day today.
It was an honor to have you here.
So we got some good video. David's going to post some. I'm going to post some. It'll be coming out in the next couple of days. We're not posting on Sunday anymore. Don't look for our videos on Sunday. We've come to an agreement about that.
Our videos tank on Sundays.
Yeah, we've decided you guys are watching football on Sunday or something.
Jethro Miller, thank you for putting Susan Bassi's link up there. If you guys are not subscribed to Susan Bassi, click that link that Jethro Miller put on there and go subscribe. We got a call says, if this movement began 30 years ago, things wouldn't be this bad. Then again, we also have to factor in that IDF goons train U.S. cops all over the country to hate the public. Knowledge is Power LA says, as of now, LAPD has approved the budget of $3.3 billion, and the chief literally just asked the city to approve another $4.4 million for just 44 others. Check this out. I just found this out recently, okay? If I'm not mistaken, a lot of public officials here or people that work for the city, whether it's the trash people, whether it's people that work for the water departments and stuff like that, they're not really getting big Christmas bonuses. You know who's getting massive bonuses, if I'm not mistaken, like I think a $12,000 bonus? The police department. And somebody sent a message with somebody else saying, this is not right, man. Why are they continue to get so much amount of money and they're being babied and stuff like that? And this is things that not very many of us hear about, right? But that's one hell of a fucking bonus if that's true.
When I posted Officer Jeanette's salary, that was what everybody commented about. It was pay and benefits. And what we need to remember is when we do work, we get paid 20 cents on the hour, but we get paid. And then once we've done that, we've been paid, we don't get a retirement set aside for us, which means we need to be paid enough to save for our own retirement. Police officers, when they resign, usually keep their same salary or even more. I've known police officers to make more into the rest of their lives. And that is in addition to their Social Security and everything else. And back in the day, we used to mock government workers. and they were very low paid, but they had their pensions. And so for them, it was a trade-off. And it just seems that either through the police associations and unions or whatever it is, that we've gotten to the point where we're paying police officers so much more than teachers, than garbage collectors, than all the people that we need in a society to keep it all rolling. And it's an imbalance. And if there's that much crime, why are they not catching real criminals? Why are they going after people recording the police, or, all of our money going after the purse snatchers and the retail theft when there's really serious crimes? And I don't even know that police are trained to investigate fraud and things that cost us so much money. And yet they're making these astonishing salaries. And if you look in your district attorney's office, those complex cases are not being prosecuted, which means the police work is not being done. So I do think holding public officials accountable for how much they're spending on police departments in the name of public safety, qualify that in your area. And I'm grateful to everybody when I do a video. There are people that come in and they will look up the pay of the people that I'm highlighting in my videos. That's me half-stepping when I haven't done that, but you guys are doing that work. And you guys are all little journalists when you're doing that. That's open source reporting and open source journalism. And I think that it's really important because we are getting into a situation where it is staggering. I've had judges say to me, it's very irritating to them that the bailiff in their courtroom makes double their pay. And it never used to be like that. And so I do have attorneys and judges that talk to me about how they perceive things. I have police officers that talk to me. And I understand that, yes, when people are in a very dangerous situation, that we do need police to go and keep things level. But when you really look at how often that is happening, and most of the time they're showing up after the damage is done, we have to look at the scale in which we're paying people in our communities.
Yep. Man, well, thank you guys for tuning in. We can talk for hours.
Yeah, we won't keep you all night long.
We could talk for hours, but I plan to maybe head your way soon and do some recording. And
I probably can't go with you to 90% of the places because of all the restraining orders and everything in place. But I'll come with you everywhere I can go.
Awesome.
Los Gatos is open.
Yeah, let's do Los Gatos soon then. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you guys for all of the support.
Thanks, you guys.
For the continued support and the support that you will give us in the future. Shout out Susan Bassi. You guys go subscribe. Again, thank you, and thank all you guys. We're done with this one. Peace.
How many did you get?
People watching?